Hello, here's a brief introduction to zipping around BowerBird and adding records and seeing projects. When you first join BowerBird, what you need to do is to sign up to projects or to follow people. This is what normal social media does. So with projects, for example, let's have a look at the bee project. I'm very keen on bees. And so there's three out of about 500 projects that are currently on BioBlitz. There's the Carter Bee Monitoring Project, there's the pollinators and what's flowering, and there's the Australian bees. As you can see, I've joined all of those. So you just simply put your mouse on there and you join. If you wish to leave it at any time, you go back in and you click the leave to be able to get there. Down the bottom, I can see that there are 117 members in this Australian Bees project, and they've added 721 records, as compared to the pollinators and what's going on. There's 11 members, and they've added 18 different products there. Looking at people, I've got a friend, Kathy Powers, who I like to follow. So here's Kathy Powers here, and you can see here I've clicked her to following, but if I wanted to follow Kathy McNamara, I would go in and click the follow. So I'm following Kathy Beamish and I'm following Kathy Powers there. And so these are the projects and the people that I'm following, and I'm joining the projects to be able to see what's going on there. You can see my project list down here. It's quite extensive. If I want, I can have a look. Let's just say we go into the marine life. You pop into here, you can see there are 68 members, and they've added 205 sightings. The very first view you get is the timeline, and that shows you chronologically all of the activity that is happening within a record, all the way down here. If you move to the sightings, you'll see about 9 per page there. Actually, it's interesting to look at the timeline because there are replicates of the same thing doing different things. Here's a record that came from Moa Island, and the original record was way back down here when Melinda added a marine record and said unknown marine invertebrate, sea hare or sea cucumber. Then she added a description, marine invertebrate found on Sigan Reef, blah, blah, blah. Here we are here. This is the interesting part. It squirted purple and red fluid when prodded, when we prodded it gently with a shoe. So I asked my colleagues here, and they said to me that anything that's prodded, and you can see here, if I open it up, you can see here the purple around here. If it's been prodded and it produces this, then it's got to be a sea hare, is what my colleagues told me. And that's what we found. And it was finally identified, originally identified down to the family level, and then finally Bob Byrne, who's an expert in this group, identified it down to genus and species. And then we were able to tack on a whole lot of information in here about it. So you can see that the record began by Mel McLean adding an image and saying, I don't know what it is. And then someone came along and they identified it to family, and then someone else came along and identified it down to genus and species. And then there were a whole lot of comments that were put there by different people. The purple coloration is a result of a dye that can be released by sea hares when threatened. So this is the value of having a social network where someone puts in a record and other people add comments to it and add identifications in that. Okay, so that's the basis of what BioBlitz does. While we're here, let's have a look at my bees. I very much like my bees, and you can see there's 117 members, and they've added 721 records. And so I can click on the sightings view, and I can see streams and streams of wonderful bees. This one here excited me very much recently. It occurs up in Queensland. And in fact, if I go into here, there we are, it's out from Brisbane there. And it's a species called Lasioglossum parasphocodes musicum. I've seen lots of this bee as dead pinned specimens, but I've never seen it live. And so it was a huge thrill for me to be able to see it live for the first time in that. So this is the stuff that kind of serendipitously pops up into BioBlitz there. Now, I'm going to show you how to add a record, and we have created a project called the City of Melbourne project. Okay, this is for the BioBlitz that we're going to be doing. There's the timeline, and I'll just zip into the... So there are currently 5 records here of birds. Now, what I want to do is I want to add another record of this bird here. This is another photograph of a bird taken in the Fitzroy Gardens, and I want to add this record to the BowerBird. Okay, so I'm going to go into the website, and I'm going to click the camera icon. And the first thing I'm going to do is add that record. So I'm going to add media and my files. Okay, now I can go through all of this here, but I've already brought it out, and it's the word called bird1. So I double click on that, and it adds the record, and so now we have added the record into here. It's a white-browed scrub wren, so I will type that in. So there's the title, white-browed scrub wren. It's from the Fitzroy Gardens. In East Melbourne. So bang, that's added a spot there. If you knew the exact place where it was, you can expand this. You can increase the size of it, and at any time just press center pin. This will bring you back to the center. And there it is there. Now you might have seen it on this tree here, or that tree, or down here, but in fact where this one was photographed was right down here in the corner there. So you can even add this here, and you can go right on down to the individual tree. So this is where that specimen was found. Okay. Now I'm going to add it to a category, and the category is birds, and it was photographed on the 2nd of October. Now the projects that I'm going to add it to are BirdLife, as well as the City of Melbourne BioBlitz. The City of Melbourne BioBlitz doesn't have many people, but the BirdLife project has a lot of people. So by adding it to both of those projects, a lot of people are going to see it. I'm just going to save that now, and it will pop up. If I go back to here, there it is there. Okay, so there's the scrub wren. I'm just going to go into BirdLife for a moment and show you that the BirdLife, there's 156 members in BirdLife. So by adding it to both BirdLife and the City of Melbourne, the City of Melbourne currently has only 2 members. So 158 people are going to see that. I'll just go back to the home. Okay, I'm going to now identify it, and I've looked up under here what the name of the scrub wren is, the white-browed scrub wren. Sericornis frontalis, and so I'm going to go into here, press identify, move on down to identify the sighting, and then we have a large database here of names of all the plants and the animals that occur in Australia. I can type in that name there and it doesn't come up. That's because frontalis belongs to a subgenus. So I can put in the Sericornis there, I can move on down, and there's the frontalis there. Okay, so I click on that, and there it comes up with the full taxonomy and the common names. So then I'll click that there. And I'm going to add a little comment here and say the identification by Dr. Karen Rowe, who is our ornithologist at the museum. So I'll click that, and now we have another record popped up, and again, it's a second copy of the white-browed scrub wren. The first one, I simply added the picture, and I added the time and the place. I beg your pardon, the date and the place. That's the temporal data, spatial temporal data, and there's the picture of the bird. Now, as I said, I've now added another record where I've put in there the scientific name, and I've added a comment. If I go into the City of Melbourne project, here we are on the timeline. It's the latest thing that's happened, and you can see it was 5 minutes ago. Now, if I go into here to the sightings, if you remember, there were previously 5 sightings, now we have 6. And that's basically BowerBird. How you move around it, how you add to it, how you open up. You can open up any record by simply clicking on the record, and there is the full pathway. When there are multiple images, you simply click on the image and move around the images quite nicely. You can click in here and see where it is if you weren't quite sure where Melbourne was. Oh, it's in Victoria. or you can expand it along like that. And here are the two projects. I can move exactly into the BirdLife project by simply clicking on the BirdLife project, and now we're in BirdLife. That's the latest thing that was added into the BirdLife project. So when you nominate records to go into different projects, they pop in there straight away. I hope that helps you, and have fun.